Let's talk about some actual Pittsburgh Steelers headlines. Najee Harris made the news yesterday for, I don't know, what his agent is calling complete nonsense. Paul Zeiss of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette said on 93.7 The Fan that, quote, a little birdie said Najee Harris actually asked the Steelers to decline his fifth-year option because he would like to go play elsewhere, probably, I guess we're assuming, next season. His agent quickly jumped on that and said, hey, Paul Zeiss, your, quote, little birdie source is a joke. Next time, do your homework and find a real source, not true. And then he tagged the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We carried it as it, or followed it as it happened, from Paul Zeiss saying it to Najee Harris's agent saying it's not true. Your thoughts as it all happened? Any belief that maybe Paul Zeiss isn't just talking?
Yeah, I thought it was plausible when I first saw it, but obviously, as soon as you see an agent shut it down, it seems your mind goes to a different place. I don't know. In my mind, this doesn't really change anything. I mean, whether or not Najee Harris wanted out, the end result is the same. He's probably not going to be here in 2025 and beyond. So it doesn't change a whole lot. I think it does give you a little bit of reassurance about this year that Najee Harris isn't just walking into a lame duck season, that he's not just going to hold out, that he doesn't actively want to leave Pittsburgh this season. I think you understand the inclination for him to, okay, you decline my fifth-year option. I want to go explore my options. I want to see what I can make on the open market. I think you're happy that it's just not this year, that you're not dealing with, at least for what it seems like right now, a disgruntled star or someone who doesn't want to be there, a hostage as opposed to a volunteer.
Yes.
So I guess that gives you a little bit of reassurance, but I still think there's part of me that believes, I think Najee is kind of eager to see what kind of money he can make on the open market, to see where he can go. I wouldn't be shocked if he feels a little, I don't want to say disrespected though, by the idea that, hey, I've taken all these carries, I put this kind of wear and tear in my body, and I've been productive for this team. And now they're just going to go for the cheaper, younger option, as if, these years that I put in, the amount of hits that I've taken don't really matter to this team. I could understand feeling that way. I think that would be reasonable for anyone to feel that way. But if he's not asking to get out of Pittsburgh, if he's not actively looking to leave, I think that's all you really care about going into, 2024.
Yeah, I think even if I think Najee next year is excited to see what his money is and to see where opportunities lie. And if I had to guess, Najee Harris ends up on the West Coast somewhere, closer to family, which makes a lot of sense, and you connect those dots with every player who's from the West Coast or any players from the East Coast or any players from the South. You just look at, if you get an opportunity to go make a boatload of money for a team that's really good, closer to home, cool, and there might not be a better opportunity than the San Francisco 49ers for a guy like Najee Harris. That being said, I find it almost impossible that Najee Harris walked into Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan's office and said, I don't want you guys to pick up my fifth-year option. In fact, I would like to go and leave this organization as quickly as possible. Even if he was hoping that they did it, even if, there was a thought in his head that next year I'm going to cash in big, there's no chance that a player is going to walk in there. And I mean, think about it. Think about what the Steelers have shown us so far this offseason. Kenny Pickett said, hey, I no longer want to be here. He was traded in about 12 hours. They're like, okay, yeah, sounds good. We're just going to go replace you with Justin Fields. We went through the running back options that are on the open market. You're telling me Najee Harris couldn't get traded in less than a day after we're a week into this now from when his option got declined, which means that he would have had to ask them to decline it a week ago. I just think that if that was the case and they had a disgruntled employee that they were looking at and saying, he doesn't want to be here, he asked us to make sure that he's out of here in a year, why would we just let him walk? Let's just get rid of him. We could get him because that's a locker room. That's an issue. That's a locker room cancer that you don't want. So I have a hard time believing that Najee made that statement, even if he wants to leave. I have a hard time believing that he made that public.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a scenario where he kind of knew they were going to not pick up his option. It seemed that was the way the wind was blowing for literally the entire offseason. I don't think the Steelers ever really had an inclination that they were going to pick up his fifth-year option. So maybe they think like, look, we can agree that this is kind of the natural end of things. We don't need to like, make it any more complicated than it is, and we'll let him walk. Like either way, like whether he asked or not, I feel like if you were going to trade Najee Harris, you do that whether he asks you to pick up his 5th year option or not. That's my thing. Like if he wanted to be traded, if he wanted to move on, if the Steelers wanted to move on from him, that trade would happen whether Najee asked for it or not.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I just think in the grand scheme of the report versus the agent, it's tough to say that Najee was going to start drama and the Steelers were just going to let it roll over after everything that they've done this offseason. Like they traded a wide receiver who causes some drama, but doesn't cause nearly enough drama to be traded, and have yet to replace him just because, whatever. They traded their starting quarterback in like an hour and a half. So I have a hard time believing that. But that being said, I agree. I think that Najee Harris's time with the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to come to an end after this season. I think that's just the natural order of things. I think everybody saw it. I think anybody who looked at Najee Harris when he got drafted 4 years ago and said this guy's going to be a 2-contract guy in Pittsburgh was just a bit too optimistic. Like he was coming into the league in a time where the running back market was devalued. He was already older than most guys. You could pay him, but I don't think anybody saw Najee as an 8-year in Pittsburgh type of guy.
Yeah. And I think that's why when his option did get declined, there were reports that, they just want to see what he can do this year, what he can do in the new offense like that. No, I don't think that was ever really a possibility. I don't think that was ever really something that they were considering.
No chance. Could you imagine if they're like, we just want to see if he's good this year, and then we're going to pay him because we thought that he might fall off a cliff this year, but we're certain that if he doesn't fall off a cliff this year, he won't fall off a cliff next year.
We wanted to pay him $10 million in 2025 instead of 6.7 or whatever it was.
No, there's no chance. Najee Harris's time is definitely limited in Pittsburgh, but if he has a year and I expect him, like I'm not looking at Najee Harris as a guy that's going to just decrease in value. I think that he has an opportunity to definitely cash in next offseason. But again, it doesn't feel like it's going to be with the Pittsburgh Steelers.